CHAMPS at the state finals is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. Also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. And Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. Hey everybody, welcome inside the State Champs Sports Network studio for another special state championship edition. And on this program, we are talking boys and girls cross country. Joining me to do that for the second year in a row, he has coached 24 years at Milford High School. He is Brian Salyers. He is the head coach. Thank you, Brian, for doing this again.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Absolutely. So he is well-versed in the sport and just loves it more than anything. And so he's a great guy to have in to come and talk about what we saw at the cross-country state finals this particular year. Now, this is an unusual year in the fact that every 7 years we were talking off camera about the cycle of how cross-country lays out.
Yeah, the way the calendar falls with Thanksgiving and our start date, the season was shortened by a week this year. So that forces adjustment in schedules and calendars and all the things that affect the sport of cross country.
Yeah, how would you assess in overall terms this season?
Well, I think it was a great mixture of old and new. There were a number of people that attained either their first school state championship or first championship in a long time, and then there were some perennial powers that continued to maintain their status as the leaders and front runners. So I think that keeps excitement in the sport.
Absolutely. Plus the fact you've always got these new exciting freshmen and young upstarts, people who jump 16, 17 spots from where they were the year before. You never know what's going to happen at the state final. So let's begin right there and let's start in Division 4.
I'm Gabe O'Neill, and let's get going with our coverage of the 2019 MHSAA Cross Country Finals at the Michigan International Speedway. In Division 4, the sophomore Abby Vanderkooy from Muskegon Western Michigan Christian came in the defending champ. She won her race in 2018 by a margin of 1 minute and 15 seconds. And she would jump out right from the start and didn't look back, as she would repeat as champion by 1 minute and 11 seconds with a time of 18 minutes and 11 seconds.
I felt pretty good for the first 2 miles, then I kind of died the second mile, especially going around the track. But I was not very happy with my time. I would much rather liked a much better time, but I'm still happy that I was able to win. That's very exciting.
Storming her way to win by 71 seconds. She won it a year ago. She's won it again. Abby Vanderkooy, Muskegon Western.
Woo, Abby! Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart came in the four-time defending Division 4 state champs, but they finished runner-up on this day. Bridgman had a good showing, with 2 runners overall finishing in the top 10, with junior Carson Stewart finishing in 3rd place, helped to win its first ever MHSAA cross-country state title.
We were super motivated going into today. We knew it was going to be a tough race between the top 4 teams, but we just went out there and we gave it our all, and I think that's what won it for us today, so that's really cool.
Before this year, we had never even won a regional championship on the girls level, so just to come out here and run as well as they ran today and get the championship, we're just overjoyed today.
Let's see how it went down with the boys in Division 4. Saugatuck came in the defending state champs. We go to the early stages of the race. The junior Carlos Gasho from Johannesburg-Lewiston was the leader. Now to the 2-mile mark. We had 4 guys battling for the top spot. Gasho, Mason Sumner of Breckenridge, Coleman Clark of Carson City Crystal, and Nathan Lott of Weberville. Sumner and Clark had competed against each other over the last 2 years, with both schools being in the Mid-State Activities Conference, and the sophomore Sumner would get the best of Clark as he goes on in to win by 9 seconds to capture his first individual state title. It was a good day for Breckenridge as 4 other runners placed in the top 30 overall as Breckenridge goes on to win its first state title since 1976.
All the training we put in, all the hard work that everyone on the team has, went through, and we've accomplished a lot this season, and I'm really thankful for it.
These guys deserve it the most. They put in so much work this season, this off season. They were all at practice every single day, putting in the work. Had some injuries in there, but they powered through, and eventually it all pulled off for them. Super, super happy for them, super proud of them, all of them.
All right, guys, welcome back inside the studios. You just checked out the highlights of Division IV. We're going to break it down here with Brian Salyers, the coach at Milford High School. And Brian, let's start with the ladies and start in Division IV. Abby Vanderkooi, one of the nation's top runners, is she not?
Oh, absolutely. You look at, she was third at the Foot Locker National Championships last year. As a freshman, she was the individual state champion. With that, she came with high expectations into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Division IV championship last year, and like you mentioned, went to with third at the national championships at the Foot Locker. Plans to run in the Midwest Regional on November 30th in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So we, wish her the best of luck, and hopefully she'll qualify for the national meet, which is in December.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough road to hoe, but in the team competition, Bridgman ended Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart's 4-year run as champions, 132 points. Sacred Heart was second with 148, Kazoo Christian third with 174. But how about the Bees?
Yeah, and I believe this is their first state championship in girls cross country. So, that part, you can never recreate the excitement of winning the first one. And so I think that for Coach Carr and the team, I think that's got to be, a surreal moment as we went through.
No doubt about it. The Bees' previous best finish at a final was 5th in Class D in 85. They didn't qualify again until 2015, but have made it since 4 of the last 5 years, so congratulations to them. All right, so let's stay in Division IV and talk about the guys. So Mason Summer was the sophomore coming in from Breckenridge High School. He and Coleman Clark have had this kind of rivalry going. He's a junior from Carson City Crystal. Both schools are in that mid-state activities conference, so they're familiar with each other. They took that rivalry to the big stage at MIS, dueling for the championship, and it was Sumner who got the best of Clark, this time winning in 16:07 fashion.
Well, when you look at that race and how that race kind of unfolded, there was another runner, Carlos Gascho, who took the race out. Sumner and a couple were close in tail, and by the time they got to 2 miles, there were 4 in the lead pack. And when you look at that, they came into the stadium and started whittling down, and that's where Sumner really took control. He was 12 seconds faster than the other competitors over the 3rd mile, and brought it home with a little bit of gap, which is always comforting when you're the lead runner. It is having that space. But you could tell the familiarity played in the race because they all kind of had a feel for each other, and that kept the race close early on, but he asserted himself late.
Absolutely. And it was Sumner who led Breckenridge to their first MHSAA championship title since the Huskies won in 1976.
That Class C championship there. Yeah. And obviously he's going to get a lot of the accolades, but when you look through and say, hey, they had 3 other guys that were all state in that field.
They scored 72 points.
Yeah, that's low tickets. You're sub 100. You've had a pretty outstanding team performance.
I mean, look at it this way. Union Sebowing, who finished in second, had 131.
Which is an outstanding runner-up score.
Exactly, and they had 72, so where does that rank?
Well, that puts them one of those where they're amongst the best teams or most dominant teams that we've had in recent years at that level.
Let's now go to the highlights of the Division III finals, and we start with the ladies as Hart came in the 2-time defending state champs. We go to the 1 mile mark. 6 runners were bunched together battling for the early lead. And it stayed that way at the 2 mile mark as they were about to make that push for the final stretch of the race. It would be the sophomore Riley Tolson from Stockbridge, who finished 20th in states a year ago, pulls away from the pack and takes the race by 8 seconds.
It's really a huge improvement. My times have improved. I know that I've put in a lot more miles, a lot more hard work, some training other than running, some swimming, some biking, a little bit of everything that I've really improved on, started working harder. And it's really just come down to my mindset, really. Last year I've had this mindset of, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just here to do whatever I can. And this year I have more of a mindset of, hey, I came here, I set a goal, I'm going to do this, and if I don't, so what? I'm still going to be happy with myself and however good I am.
And for the team crown, the girls from Hart do it again with 3 runners placing in the top 10. Savannah Ackley finished in 4th, Adriana ends in 5th, and Savannah's twin sister in 9th, as Hart goes on to win his 3rd straight Division III girls cross-country state title.
Awesome. Yeah, the kids are a little bit more nervous this year than they've been in the past, and I think there was that expectation that they were supposed to win and stuff. And I think put a little more pressure on them than they're normally used to. So, yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Moving now to the fellas in D3, Carroll High School came in as the defending state champs. Hunter Jones of Benzie Central, only a freshman, but was one of the favorites to win the individual title. Jones was starting to expand on his lead from the rest of the runners, and he becomes the first freshman from the northwest portion of the Lower Peninsula in 26 years to capture the individual state title, winning by 28 seconds. Benzie Central as a team finished in 7th.
You're a freshman. I mean, you've got 3 more years ahead of you. I mean, it doesn't happen too often with a freshman boy winning. So, I mean, just tell me how you feel.
It's just, I just feel proud of myself and just got to do it again the next 3 years.
Hanover Horton came in looking to win its 2nd state title in the last 3 years. And they had 2 runners overall placing in the top 10, including the senior Garrett Melling, who finished in 5th. As Hanover Horton goes on to claim its 2nd cross-country state championship in the last 3 years.
Looking over to Division III and going to ladies first, Stockbridge sophomore Riley Tolson was kind of in a 6-way battle for the title in this one. She took the lead at about the 2.5-mile mark and kind of just, held on. She finished winning in 18:31, won by about almost 8 seconds over Maddie Bean of Richmond. She was 20th in the meet, Division III meet, as a freshman.
Yeah.
And, won the regional, and here she was getting it.
Well, and we're going to come back to that 20th place a little bit later. But yeah, that was a race in which there were 7 in the pack at the mile. There were 4 in the pack at the 2 mile. And just like we just talked about Mason Sumner, she asserted herself and really never looked back once she took control. And she's had a great season. She hasn't lost anybody in her division this year. Her only blemish on the season was at the Greater Lansing meet, where she lost to a D1 in a D2 runner,
right.
Tyson Hayes. So you look at she's been competitive at the front, and I think that experience paid off at the state finals, where she really felt in control on that day.
And for Bean, of course, taking 2nd place was a big accomplishment. She was 40th. In Division III as a sophomore, 78th in Division II as a junior. So congratulations to her for getting that high. And Hart won their 3rd straight team championship by a 77-133 margin over Shepherd, and Granville Calvin Christian took 3rd.
Well, this is Hart's 3rd consecutive state championship. So this was a very familiar territory for them. They knew what was out there. They were prepared, and they positioned their runners to be successful. And when you look at their lineup, they only have 1 senior in this year's lineup. So I don't see that competitiveness going away. It really creates a great storyline for next year as some of these guys look to extend a run that's already been phenomenal.
Transitioning from senior heavy to youth oriented, it's been 26 years since a 9th grader from a high school in the northwest portion of Michigan's Lower Peninsula made MHSAA cross country history. Ryan Shea of Central Light won the 93 individual race at the Class D title when there were separate races for team and individual qualifiers. You remember that?
Absolutely.
No freshman boy had come close to duplicating Shea's feat in the quarter century that followed until Hunter Jones. And Hunter Jones joined Shea as the only freshman boy to win a race at the Lower Peninsula Final when he won the Division III title on Saturday in 15:45 fashion. And since the final was moved to MIS in '96, the best finishes by freshman boys before Saturday were 5th place showing by Rockford legend Dathan Ritzenhein. We remember him, of course, in Class A in '97, and Whitmore Lake Zach Carpenter in D4 in '06.
Yeah. Hunter came in with pretty high expectations. Those in and around the sport realized that he ran 4:32, 9:34 last year as an 8th grader. Those are not typical middle school, junior high times. He was very aggressive. he took the lead of the race. When we talked about some of those other races where, it kind of sifted itself out, this was not the case. He set the tone, 4:54 through the mile, extended his lead by 12 seconds at the 2 mile, and he was clearly in control through that long turn of the MIS stadium.
Hunter Jones' time Saturday ranked second in MIS for a freshman in any division, trailing only a 15:49 by Rockford's Cole Johnson in D1 in 2014. Jones broke the D3 freshman mark of 16:038 set by eventual three-time champ Yami Albrecht of Cairo.
Yeah.
So, calling out some names there. Hanover Horton, though, won the team championship for the second time in 3 years, scoring 146 points.
Yeah, when we talk about Hanover Horton, and they're coached by Dean Blackledge, who's a Hall of Fame coach. Right. He's won a couple on the girls' side, and as you mentioned, that 2017 state championship. And what's interesting about that is 4 of the top 5 members of the team, 3 of them ran on that 2017 state championship team. To see them, again, find themselves on top of the podium, I think was very exciting for that team.
Congratulations to them for sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk Division II and Division I when state champs at the cross-country state finals continue.
I'm on the Blue Devil football team, and that's a great place to be because other colleges wouldn't let me be both a football player and a nursing student. And just because I'm a dog on the field doesn't mean I can't take care of people. And man, do I love people. The small class size at LTU give me awesome access to my nursing professors. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
There's an old saying, you can never have too many officials. The age of the average official is 52 and getting older all the time. We're constantly recruiting new people, younger people to join us. After you register with the MHSAA, look on the website to find an officials association near you. They'll put you in a position to succeed as an official. We all learned a lot from high school sports, and officiating is a great way to give back to the game. There's help wanted, just whistle.
Touchdown, Cheltenham.
You do know you want a contest to spend the whole day with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to sit here and eat this delicious pizza?
We could do other things.
A little help?
That was the best day ever!
Some people will do anything for flavor. Now get a meal deal to fit any budget at the home of flavored crust.
Hungry?
Howie's!
I'm Lauren Plant, and let's go to the afternoon session of the cross-country finals, and we start with the girls in Division II. East Grand Rapids looking for a sweet repeat. 2 years ago, Lansing Catholic's Olivia Tice, the D2 individual state champ. Fast forward to 2019, her sister Jaden coming in, one of the favorites. At the 1 mile mark, Jay Tice out in front. A mile later, the senior Tice hanging on to the lead. East Grand Rapids' Anna Peter in fourth, about to make her move. Down the stretch we go, and it's a battle between Peter and Tice. The senior Peter with the kick and caps her senior year by winning the individual title by just 3 seconds. Her time, 17:59.6. The defending champs, East Grand Rapids, had a solid day with 4 other runners placing in the top 15. The Pioneers claimed their second straight Division II state title.
The girls have put in a ton of hard work this year. It starts as soon as track season finishes. So when summer starts, we start working, and we've just been putting in so many miles and workouts. So it's just been really cool to see us all get so far.
For us, it's the second year in a row, and they weren't I don't know, it's easy to get complacent and stuff, and they didn't do that. They just kept working, and really all of them came back and improved. And so I think mostly I'm just really proud of their hard work.
We now go to the boys in Division II. Chelsea, the 2-time defending state champs, and there were a lot of runners vying for the individual title. We go to the 1 mile mark, a 5-way battle for the top spot. The Hancock brothers, Anthony and Michael from Dearborn Divine Child, Evan Bishop of East Grand Rapids, Nathan Walker of Fremont, and Kobe Fraza from Richland Gull Lake. Move ahead to the 2 mile. Bishop, who finished runner-up a year ago, had a lead over Anthony Hancock, looking to cap his senior year with a state crown. end of the race. Bishop with the extra push, 6-second win, 15-12-6 his time, Division II individual state title. East Grand Rapids finished 7th as a group.
So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, the whole state is so fast this year. There's I think there were 4 guys under 15 this year in D2, and then 2 in D1. So there's so many good guys. So there's a lot of pressure, but it felt great to get the job done today and come out on top. So I'm super thankful.
The Hancock brothers from Divine Child took 2nd and 3rd respectively. Fremont's Nathan Walker finished 4th. 3 other Packers placed in the top 30, and Fremont takes its 2nd state crown in the last 3 years.
It feels pretty good. It's something we've been working for all season long, and just that's the #1 goal. It feels really good.
It was great for our boys. You know, we knew we were going to be real strong this season coming in, and then just to maintain that all season long, and then you get to the state meet and you're feeling the pressure, but just to go out and perform and not try and be a Superman or anything, and just do what you've been doing all season and keep that going. So the kids were really excited for that.
Hey guys, welcome back inside the studio. You just saw highlights of Division II. Start with the ladies, and in Division II, it was Anna Peters' year. She moved to Michigan from North Carolina, where she was 38th in the state meet as a sophomore. In her first year at East Grand Rapids, she placed 20th, and we kind of alluded that in our last conversation, finishing behind 15 runners who returned this weekend. And, you know, it was one of those things, I think, going in, expectations were that the Lansing Catholic senior Jaden Tice and Anna Peter were going to go toe-to-toe.
Well, I think Anna's race is, you know, she's been resilient all season long because she hasn't been one of those runners that's dominated week in and week out. She's been learning to race at the front of the race. But when you come into this particular situation, I think a lot of her performance was guided by her team. When you talk about that connection, that motivation, that inspiration, right. She was not racing whether she was finishing first or second per se. She was running to drop another point off the team total. And that matters when you find those moments of the race where you've got to decide whether you're going to keep going or not.
But again, another dominant performance by East Grand Rapids with, of course, Anna Peter leading the way, repeated as D2 champion, scoring 36 points. Petoskey was second with 91.
Yeah, and there's a lot of storylines. I mean, really, when you look at this, first starting off, Petoskey beat East Grand Rapids earlier in the season at the Portage Invite. Wow. So that was one of the things that was kind of a shakeup because people coming into the season viewed East Grand Rapids as potentially the best team all classes. Yeah. And so when they got beat, that was a wake-up call. And you know, the state meet's a different beast. But I think they came in very, very motivated. And when you talk about, so then their performance, they translate that into 5 of the first 14 finishers, which is astounding. Yeah. 36 points for their total, which is so impressive. And when you look at that, it's a Division II state record in terms of lowest point totals ever, and as well as I think it's number 3 all-time all classes. Daniel Retberg, East Grand Rapids, could not be more proud of his team. When we talk about this is their 7th state championship. So there's certainly a formula and an expectation at that school, and obviously the back-to-back champions 2018, 2019. This was a total team effort and one that will be shared by all for a very long time.
And as we continue in Division II, East Grand Rapids continued their success, and this was at the individual level as well. Although Fremont took the title, it was Evan Bishop, who we already knew was impressive.
Yeah, he's a 3-time All-Stater.
Exactly.
And he was a 9th at the Foot Locker National Championships last year.
Yeah.
So he comes in with great credentials. But this is a field that featured 4 of the top 6 from the race last year returning. Right. And that's unusual to have that type of experience up front. And so we knew there was going to be a great race, and it certainly didn't disappoint.
So Fremont put its 5 scoring runners in the top 28 in the team race, and that's ultimately what got it done for them.
Yeah, Cliff Summers does a great job with the Packers out there at Fremont. And just like we mentioned, East Grand Rapids having a strong tradition. This is Fremont's 9th state championship, wow. 3rd under Coach Summers. And they were runner-up last year to Chelsea, kind of there with most of the roster returning. And that again, just like we talked about Hart earlier, 1 senior amongst that group for Fremont. So they're facing the task of avoiding entitlement and expectation, and knowing that they're the ones with the X on their backs and they got to come back and try to repeat. But I'm sure that they'll be ready.
Finally, we go to Division I. Ann Arbor Pioneer, state runners-up a year ago. It's been 22 years since they last hoisted the state hardware. Returning one of the best runners in Michigan in Zofia Dudek. The senior and Poland native jumped out right from the get-go. At the 2-mile mark, no one in her zip code. Dudek wins with a time of 17 minutes flat, 53 seconds better than second place, first ever individual state championship. The Lady Pioneers had a solid day on course with 4 other runners placing in the top 30, including the sophomore Sarah Forsythe, who finished 8th. Ann Arbor Pioneer wins its first team cross-country title in 22 years.
Feels absolutely amazing. I'm just so grateful to be part of such an amazing team, and I'm just glad that the race went the way it did.
Feels great. We've been working all year for this. Haven't won since 1997. We knew we had a great team, and they've been doing great every meet. So just another day for Pioneer girls, and they came through big. So it's a lot of fun. Everyone's very excited. It's a huge day for Pioneer.
Now to our final race in our coverage of the cross-country state finals, the Division I boys race. Plymouth, the defending team champs, returning one of the top runners in the state in the senior, Carter Solomon. And he would be in a battle in this one along with Brendan Favaza of Clarkston and Jack Spamer of Brighton. To the 2-mile mark of the race, all 3 side by side before deciding who would make the final push that would win. And in the end, it's Solomon pulling away. Wins by 5 seconds with a time of 15 minutes, 1 second. The Wildcats as a team finish the afternoon in 12th.
All these guys I'm racing against are all my friends. You know, I'm friends with, Brendan and Evan, all these guys. And coming out here, and we're all out here having a good time. The weather's working out for us, so it's just something I'll never forget.
As to decide the team champs, Brighton's Jack Spamer finished 3rd. His teammate Zach Stewart just behind him taking 4th. Brighton goes on to win its first cross-country state championship since 1995.
We've been working a lot for this one. Last year we had a good shot but didn't pull through, and the time was right. It just happens, It's not coincidence. It all just comes together, and, we just executed for sure.
The boys did fantastic today. They've been, they've put in the work all over the summer and all over the years, so it was fantastic to see it come to fruition today. They did an excellent job today.
So let's move to Division I, and we'll go to the ladies. And Zofia Dudek is one who maybe not a lot of those who follow cross country and track and field here in Michigan maybe weren't too familiar with, because she's kind of been a world traveler as far as her ending up here in the state of Michigan as a freshman. She was, in her homeland of Poland after a couple of years in Florida and then a year in Indiana because of her father's job as a visiting professor of economics. And but on Saturday, she was here running in the state of Michigan and running well. She finishes with a time of 17 minutes, 0.4, which is the 4th fastest time by a girl at MIS.
Yeah, and she asserted herself early. She was 11 seconds in the lead at the mile mark. She increased that lead to 29 seconds at the 2-mile. It was very apparent that she was going to go after the clock and really kind of set the tone for her teammates. And it was an interesting year because last year 9 of the top 14 graduated. So we talked about that D2 boys race where everybody returned. This is one that was kind of a void, and she made sure everybody knew it was about her and there were no other options. Yeah. Her time would have placed her 14th in the D4 boys race on Saturday. Wow. So she would have been all state in that race. So that's apples to apples, day of, same course, same conditions. It was very apparent that she was the elite of the elite.
Yeah. Of course, her victory led Pioneer to its first championship since 1997 and 4th overall. Pioneers with 80 points, 33 ahead of Traverse City Central.
Yeah, and they've had a great history in running, and it's been a while since they've been on the podium, but they've been out there. They picked up a couple of runner-up trophies and whatnot. But when you look at that and say, hey, we're back, we're on top, and it was one of those. Zofia led the way, but they were still, finished with 5 of the top 40 overall.
So now we move to Division I on the boys' side. It's all about Carter Solomon, the Plymouth senior, fastest time in the state this fall, 4th in the Foot Locker Nationals last year. Won with the championship time on Saturday, 15:01.2, the fastest time in any division. Saturday, won a team championship with Plymouth last year. Of course, All-America at Foot Locker, and now putting himself in select company because he was earning All-State for the 4th time.
Yeah, him and actually Zach Stewart, who finished 4th in the race, was also a 4-time All-Stater.
Wow.
So this class of runners, you've really watched them grow up. A lot of these guys were in there as freshmen getting beat up. Some of them were excelling as freshmen, and now you're watching them really kind of compete. But Carter's been the dominant runner all season, and I think that's part of just having the experience last year going out and running against the elite at the Foot Locker competition, kind of bringing it back this year. And it was a different year for him because last year Plymouth was the leading contending team. He knew that the race this year was going to be a little bit different. It was going to be more individually focused because they didn't have the horses to compete for the team title. But that was the one thing lacking from his resume. Is that final element. So it was really cool to watch him kind of go out, and you got to see other guys challenging him. Nobody laid down and conceded that he was going to be the best. He had to earn that, and I think that's more gratifying for him.
Absolutely, and mentioning Zach Stewart's accomplishment is great, and he at least could hoist a trophy too as they won their first team championship since '95.
How ironic is that? When we talked about last year, Carter got to do the team championship, but he was second,
right?
And we talked that was kind of a saving, and I think that's kind of thing here. Zach was 4th, his teammate Jack Spammer was 3rd. That group, Brighton, has had a great ascent to the title. They were 26th as freshmen. And then they were 17th as sophomores, 10th last year, and then this year they were 1st with 5 seniors on the line. So that class of Brighton, which includes Spammer, Stewart, and Spanstra, and Hanna and Campbell, really got to kind of realize their dreams the way the storybooks write them. As your senior year, you go out on top.
All right, well, this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Always enjoy recapping the season.
Absolutely. So that is Coach Brian Sawyers, and maybe we'll have him back after track and field if we can nail him down. Once it gets towards summertime, he's out the door. But we'll see if we can snag him for then, and that'll be the next time we talk great running here in the state of Michigan. But we thank you once again for watching this year's cross-country state finals, and we appreciate everybody who contributed and participated in this program. I'm Lauren Plant. Once again, we thank Brian Sawyers for being here. We'll see you next time when we talk about another state championship here on the State Champs Sports Network.
State Champs at the State Finals is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. Also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. And Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor.